The world is filled with cool stuff. And kids know that. Why do you think they're so creative? Because they wake up every day and they try something that they haven't ever tried before. Every day they're doing this. They're doing amazing things. And it's because of that they're able to be so creative. So now, imagine this saying, when all you have is a hammer, everything's a nail, right? That's another bad one because it's not true. If you give a kid a hammer and, please supervise them so they don't hurt anyone. But if you give a kid a hammer, they have a hammer and a probing stick and a hole explorer, because you don't want to put your hand in that hole in the backyard that you're not sure if a snake made. You've got a bug killer. You have a sibling intimidation device. You have something that you can use to play with magnets with because it's metal. I can't even come up with all the ways that a kid would use a hammer because kids are just naturally amazed by new things. And they'll take something that you think is old stuff and they'll turn it into something just beautiful. So kids do a lot of things for the first time. And so it's not a surprise that they live in a world of wonderment and excitement. But adults have become acclimated, and that's a bad thing. We have become acclimated to the world as it is. So let's just talk about something that happened last night. I got up like 3 a.m. I needed to hit the restroom. Okay, so I wander into the bathroom, which doesn't have any windows, and I reach over and I flick a switch on the wall. And amazingly, an artificial sun lights up on the ceiling, and I am in daylight. It's a dang light bulb, but it's amazing, and we forget how amazing that is. Every day we turn on the lights, and every day we think not a big deal. In fact, it's sort of a hassle that you got to get the lights turned off at night too. We don't look at it the same way that we should. And cell phones, that's another great example. Think of how amazing this is. Okay, so I'm sitting on my phone reading The Guardian, which is published in the United Kingdom, while on a phone call with someone who's in Tokyo, while texting back and forth with someone who's in Sydney, Australia. That is so amazing. I mean, remember, it was just a couple hundred years ago that people were excited about the telegraph, that you could send beeps over a power line. And now we have this. But what do adults do with it? Kids, no problem. Kids will explore a phone all day. And I mean, almost actually to the point where maybe they need less screen time and more time playing and be creative with other things. But adults, we take it for granted. I mean, we get mad when it's not fast enough. We'll complain. Well, this movie that I'm streaming from a service in Brazil is dang slow. What's wrong with this thing? My battery only lasted, 20 hours. What's wrong with my phone? Come on, guys. I mean, really? You have a piece of magic. And you have something just like the light bulb that someone from 500 years ago would look at and you'd be burned at the stake as a witch for having that. It's amazing. Now let's just think about old school tech and how beautiful and amazing it is. Do you remember the first time that you picked up a book and read a word? Wow, I remember the first time I read a word. We were driving past a service station on the way to, I don't remember, preschool somewhere. It was in Montreal. And I just looked at the sign and I said, gas. And the sign indeed said gas. I was like, oh my God, people can write an idea down. And years or even centuries later, I can read it and get it into my head. We can pass knowledge down that way. That's amazing. And adults just don't care. We don't care. It's something we're used to. We're acclimated to it. Same thing with a window. Have you thought about how weird it is to look through a solid object and we can just see right through it? It's amazing. It's a miracle. And kids don't forget that things are miracles, and adults do. And so why does all this matter to creativity? These are all things that have already been invented. It's because you got to think that the world's a cool place. Most great inventions start with this question. Wouldn't it be cool if? Wouldn't it be cool if we could figure out how to communicate over great distances without a line of sight? That would be cool. And so we end up with radio. Like, wouldn't it be cool if, and you can finish that sentence however you want. But kids finish it all the time. Wouldn't it be cool if we did this? No, it'd be cool if we did that. Let's do both of the cool things. I mean, kids will play. And the reason that adults do not have that kind of creative play is that we have just become used to it. We've become bored with it. And that's really bizarre to me. But that's how it is. And reach back to your childhood and remember that wonderment. The first time you had chocolate, the first time you saw the beach, the first time you saw a mountain, the first time you were in an airplane. All of those things, and for people of a certain age, the first time you saw color TV. I mean, there really are so many amazing things. Now, there's an amazing picture of Nikola Tesla with artificial lightning coming over his head. And he looks bored as can be. So even creative people, even inventors, will find themselves jaded and bored by the world as we've become used to it. I mean, to become used to artificial lightning flying over your head, you know you got a cool job when that doesn't get you excited. And inventing is a cool job, okay? But you need to work on your sense of wonder. We all do as adults. So we need to do what we can to regain that. So it's a quick, easy question. How do children acquire their creativity? We're born with it. Same way adults acquire it. We're born with it, and the trick is not losing it on the way. I mean, on the way to my graduate degree, I lost my creativity. Dude, where's my creativity? It's there. It was there. You were born with it. It hasn't gone anywhere. And just go out and play. I mean, for goodness sakes, you know what? Spend 10 minutes drawing some cool ideas with crayons. I'm not kidding. I mean, tricks to reach back to your childhood are what you might need to overcome all those years of being told it can't be done or you have to do it a certain way. So why do we push kids to not be creative, to do things one way? Well, I can think of one thing, and I think this is the main reason, which is keeping them safe. I mean, you want to teach kids what is dangerous. And how do you teach someone what's dangerous? You tell them you can't do that. It's not safe to do that. Instead of saying what we probably should say, which is, it's not safe to do that the way you're thinking of doing it, but let's figure out a way to test it so we can figure it out. And, you know, really simple thing. I gave a presentation to kids at a fantastic event that I go to sometimes, and they have a kids track there, and so I always talk with the kids. And I gave this talk about creativity and how they, all makers are first breakers. Taking something apart is inventing it in reverse. And this was actually the experience that got me to include a bunch of warnings about, but have an adult with you while you do it. A woman comes up to me the next morning and says, "Oh, my daughter loved your presentation yesterday." And I was like really touched. I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much. That just means everything." She says, "But there is one thing you need to know." And I'm like, "Okay, like what did I do wrong now?" And she says, "Well, you should know that my daughter took apart the hairdryer in our room." Now, if you know anything about hairdryers, it's pretty much, it's like an exposed wire. There's very little that you can do to make that safe to play with. So, now I tell kids, but trust that when an adult says something is dangerous, trust it. And the same thing goes for adults. When you're told you can't do something, trust that, but verify it. And that's an amazing saying because Ronald Reagan famously said it, and so did Vladimir Lenin, the founder of the Soviet Union. And so if you get two people that are that ideologically separate saying it, you know that there's something to it that's a pretty good thing to know. So trust it when someone says it's dangerous, trust it when they say it's impossible, and then test it. let's just wrap up here. This is Gary Schuster, your friendly neighborhood inventor. You've been watching Innovation Cafe. Please go ahead, give this video a like, give me a follow, make a comment down below. I'll be reading the comments and interacting with folks. Innovation Cafe, signing off.